Disable the ads. No. Okay, so I know we got homeworks from you, Rob, and Daniela. Y'all mind if I play them on the big speaker?
No. As long as there's no judgment.
Yes. Were we supposed to message it to you?
I'm sorry?
Were we supposed to email it to you?
I mean, you can drop it on the Discord now if you like.
I have to drop something.
Because I love.
I don't want any judgment, so I'll say no.
I don't mind letting you just talk about.
Yeah, it's more about feedback. I'm not.
I'm super happy to actually.
Yeah. No, I was just. Yeah.
Okay,
it's
great.
Not my best word, but it's
well, yeah. Just by proxy, it is my best word because it's the only word.
There you go. There you go. Session. Yeah, it's just nice to hear it on like bigger speakers than you might have in your apartment, and it's a good opportunity to like trade ideas and give you feedback and stuff. Okay. That's true. Well, I could try.
Very house. Very 80s house.
Perfect. Matches the shirt. Got it.
You go first.
I mean, honestly, a lot of club systems are actually in mono. So you have to make sure that your mix can sum to mono.
I guess that just makes it easier to type everything around.
Yeah, you don't end up with as many like dead zones where there's like weird phase issues if you just play the track in mono in the club. And people are mostly there to hear the bass or feel the bass. Okay, so that works. I think we're ready to go. Yeah, let me pull up. Okay, let's see if anyone's on the stream yet. Okay. Oh, 2 concurrent viewers. Great. All right. I sent the email just now. Okay, let me load up Rob and Danielle's tracks. Take a deep breath. Okay, nice, good inclusion of reference tracks there, Rob. Nice, we got a good title too, DJ Disassociate. Okay, going for the ketamine deep house Bushwick vibes, maybe.
Yeah, just like the first thing. I literally tried to overthink it.
Perfect, all good. Okay, yeah, let's get into it. So, welcome to EDM 101 Session 2. Today we're going to talk about, we're going to get into some MIDI drum programming. Last week we mainly did like loop manipulations and we dealt in the world of audio. Now we're going to peel back the curtain behind MIDI. We're also going to start introducing bass into our mix. That's the other kind of like foundational element. And to help us do that, we'll install a free VST called Vital. Hello, we're just getting started. We'll install a free VST called Vital so we all have like a standard kind of synth to work on, but it's very, very powerful one despite being free. And we'll also start to get into like how to create an energetic progression so it sounds like your song is actually like going somewhere and isn't just like an 8-bar loop. So nothing wrong with 8-bar loops, but usually people want to listen to entire songs. So we'll we'll get into how to start setting that up. But before we do that, some folks did work on some tracks this past weekend, so I thought I always like to start the class off by playing them on the big speaker, and then giving feedback. So let's start with Daniela. Oh, I heard someone come inside just now. Hello. Let's see. We need to get another table out. There might be some space there. Also, do people need power? Okay. Actually, okay, but one more step before we get started. I'm going to go get a power strip so we can give everyone the power. 1 second. Got the power. Is that sample? Okay, yeah, and if anyone else did make a track this past week and want to send it to me so we can play it, drop it in the Discord, email me, whatever you like. But here we go.
Hands up, then we gonna drop. Hands up, then we gonna drop.
That was great. Yeah, a lot of good ideas in there. I liked that vocal sample you had right before then bringing in the next element. That shows good sensitivity to like creating that progression. You had a nice moment, I think, around here where you pulled out the kick to create that like sense of, oh man, something's missing and I want it to come back, and then you gradually introduced the hi-hats and then you brought the kick back in. So that was a nice moment of building anticipation. And I think you had a good balance between the different elements too, right? You had the mix was solid. You had that interesting like lead vocal kind of idea in there that mixed in nicely. I don't know. I'm not sure I heard any like bass exactly.
No.
That's
yeah. I don't think so. No, I didn't put any of that.
It's okay. But that could be another element to add more like depth and weight that you could add. Good. I'd say good overall like moments of progression, and next we'll build towards like creating sort of like a clear through line through this whole like minute, let's say, because it felt a little fragmented just in the sense of like you did have energetic dips and rises, which is great. So now we'll just kind of extend that into like a more sensible narrative, if you will. But a lot of great instincts here. So nicely done. Cool. All right, and let's get into this mix from DJ Disassociate. Nice.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's like a full song right there.
I definitely could use vocals. Like when I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, they're definitely a totally different layer of
Yeah, some kind of vocal or lead element to like really hook the listener. I think is all you really need here. I love that you had lots of little like turnaround or fill type of moments where you created like a flow where it's not just the same beat going all the way through, but you had like drum fills or moments where you pulled out certain instruments. Or I liked the clave kind of sound effect you used to create like a small rhythmic motif near the beginning. That ding 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 ding, that was really effective. That stuck in my head. You had all the elements in there. You had like bass, and you had like the piano chords too. The B section was also kind of like a nice breath of fresh air. Like it was surprising, but it was also really effective because you like cut everything and just dropped us right into that bass theme, that bass idea. So that's like I think that would be really good dance floor moment for people to be like, oh yeah, what's coming up next? And then you brought it back at the end by bringing in the eighth theme again. So really good like overall structure.
I like that how you were like, oh, this was like there could have been like a little more build up in that part. You were like calling it out.
Yeah. Going down to like a single instrument is great. Like bring the listener's focus to that one thing, and then from there you can like gradually open it up once they've kind of gotten used to that.
Yeah, that's what really draws me to house music is when like the producers are leading the listener on to like, oh, something is about to happen, or whatever.
Yeah, it's I don't know why it works, but like you can telegraph your moves. You can like lead the listener around by the ear and be like, hey, we're going. This is where we're going. Aren't you excited for it? And then you can fake them out or whatever. But it always seems to like work. Like the listener just responds to those that emotion, even though it's coming. It still feels really good when it finally connects. Even if it's repetitive or whatever, it's still those moves still feel good and are effective. Let's see, anything else? I think the mixing was good. And you had a moment, I think, around in here where you pulled out all the drums and just had the bass going, and then you brought it back in. Oh, and you had some nice like snare fills too to create that like rise of anticipation. I think just like adding in like a lead element idea. I like to. I'm kind of a minimalist when it comes to structure. So like I only want to go on for as long as I have something to say, something new to say. There's some genres like techno or trance that can have very long sections where it is just like that same hypnotic groove over and over again. You can get locked in, which can feel nice and like, take you away. But if you're like, oh, I don't know what else to add here, that could be a sign to be like, okay, maybe I've said all I needed to say, and I can, maybe like there's some great songs that are only like 2 minutes long or even a minute and a half. But 3:37 is a good length too.
It definitely felt, I like the end part. I could have taken it down to 4 bars.
Yeah, or if you'd had like a main lead element, that second repetition at the end could be an opportunity to like make it even bigger, like add another layer, add some harmonies, make the arrangement more dense, something to take the energy up the next level. And one thing we'll talk about when we get into song structure is like, in the earlier phases of the song, you want to kind of hold back something in reserve. You don't want to like give it all away up front, so that then later when you do add in those extra energetic elements, it's like you get the familiarity and the sort of nostalgia of what I've already heard combined with the increased intensity of the thicker arrangement. So, that's something we'll play around with more later in the class. But I mean, this is a great first effort. So nice work. Anyone else want to drop? What? I wanted to heart this track. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. I want to make sure I'm following everyone's SoundClouds. Oh, maybe the session ID changed. By the way, there's when you're sharing tracks on SoundCloud, if the track is private, you have to like, there's like a certain way you have to share it so that so that other people can click on it. I think maybe the session ID expired or something. Or you didn't take it down, did you, Daniela, just now?
No.
I assume not. Okay. Can't find you. Huh. Okay. Curious. Like you.
You only
Track was too
No,
far.
I think it's because I was like changing my SoundCloud like information so I didn't put my first and last name there.
Oh. Okay.
I think that might have been it. I can resend it.
Okay. Well, if you want to drop the SC in the Discord, we can all follow each other. And oh, awesome! Sam's got a track here. Cool. Grave implications. Okay, I like the sound of that. All right, let's give it a listen. All right, let me check to make sure. Okay, pause the ad some more. Also, I apologize if anyone on the stream sees ads. I have to keep clicking this button every 10 minutes. All right, let's get into it. Yeah, I need to like create a Claude skill or something that automatically hits that button for me. But all right, Grave Implications by Sam.
We can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. The military-industrial complex. Military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist and will persist. We must not fail to comprehend its grave implications.
Nice. Oh yeah. Okay. Nice job, Sam. That's like a whole song right there, right? You ended it nicely. I like the intros to tracks can be hard to come up with sometimes because it's like, where do I start? How do I get this thing going? But starting off with some nice ambient textures and chords is a really good strategy. I like to think of it as kind of like there's like this primordial ooze that you start off with, and then structures gradually emerge out of that. That's like a visual metaphor I like to use. So yeah, you had the nice chords going, and then the piano gradually came in, and then you added that cool like little ARP synthesizer. So really nice build up there, and then you had the like kind of filter sweeping drums to bring us into the start of the song. So it was really effective, energetic progression there to get the song going. On a technical note, I think you had the resonance on your filter a little high on that drum sweep. That's why near the end it started kind of like howling or crackling a bit. Just maybe back off the resonance a little bit on that. I can show what that looks like in Ableton once we get in there. But also really great sort of like main idea you had there with the sample of the guy talking about the military-industrial complex. That's like a really strong thematic idea. You had you repeated it a couple times. I also think the contrast of the sort of like chill, groovy, ambient house against the political message was a nice contrast. And then wrapping it up nicely with just the title of the track to kind of like send home the message. I thought even though it's only a 2-minute track, it had a really nice structure to it. Could imagine this playing well on social media. So yeah, no notes other than that. So nice work, Sam. Anyone else did anyone else make anything that they wanted to show off to the class? Someone dropped something in general. Oh, here we
That
go.
was just me resharing.
Oh, right on. Okay. Using markdown format. Nice.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. You get a follow. You get a follow. Can we set you up with a table, maybe? Yeah, let's do it. Hold on. I'm gonna set up one more table here for the in-person folks. Oh yeah, go ahead. Okay. So like as a reminder, just every week I like to start the class off by playing the tracks people are working on. So don't be afraid to submit your work and get some feedback and listen to them on the big speakers. And congratulate everyone on their bravery for sharing their souls with us today. All right, so with that, let's get into the main content for today. We're going to talk about drum programming with MIDI. We're going to talk about progressing the energy in our tracks. We're going to install our first VST so we can set up some bass. And and feel free to ask me any questions along the way. So. Oops. It didn't go. There was no call. And Sam, also, you had a question about like how to make your sub loop not click. So let me see. I'll talk about that, and I'll show the filter resonance thing, and then we'll get into the main content. So let's find a drum loop. Let me make sure I have the right driver set up. Okay, I think this should be good. Okay. Actually, let me pick a more full-bodied one, just so it's more obvious what's going on. Or let me pick the cymatics loop. Sure. Okay. It's probably a little loud. But okay, so we have our drum loop, and the filter, I think you were using, Sam, was this auto filter. This should be available in every version of Ableton, but it's basically a simple filter. It lets you operate in low pass mode, high pass, band pass, etc. So you can remove different parts of the frequency spectrum from your sound. So what you had going on was this low pass filter. So you had the highs taken out, you gradually brought them in. So it sounded something like this. So that's a really effective, meat and potatoes kind of effect that that's broadly applicable. It can be used in a lot of ways to like either create an energetic movement, or if you run it the other way, you can kind of pull back. But there's this other parameter that filters have called the resonance knob, and it's basically like how much additional emphasis are we placing on the what's called the cutoff frequency of the filter. The cutoff frequency is like what frequency does the filter start acting on the sound. So the low pass filter, it's like, all right, anything above this value, get rid of it. And for a high pass, it would be everything below this value, get rid of it. We're talking about a high, low pass here. So if you crank this resonance knob up, it starts to sound like wetter, for lack of a better word. So maybe you can hear how that sounds. Actually, I'll just keep using this loop, but. It's got that kind of like sound. So if I turn off the resonance, words don't do it justice, but wetter is the best I can do. If you crank this too high, though, it'll start to self-oscillate and it'll start to howl and it'll start to kind of like clip and break through. And it can be a useful, it can be, musically useful, but it can also get kind of extreme. So like there, it's starting to clip. Yeah, and it can get quite harsh because you're really emphasizing that frequency that it's at. But it can also sound musical. And, if you want to crank it that hard, but you don't want it to clip, you can put an effect called a limiter after it. So this will basically ensure that no matter how loud your input signal gets, it always stays under your ceiling and it doesn't clip. And so this is usually a mastering tool, but it can also be used for sound processing. So now we get sound more like this. Right, it's more tame now. It's not as like, if I turn it off, it like, tames a little bit. So we still get that nice, very resonant sound, but it's not as harsh or clipping. So something to look out. We'll talk more about we'll show other uses of filters later in the class, but wanted to point that one out just because it did come up in someone's demo today. Sam, you got a question? I see you're typing there. So that's that. And then you also had a question about using operator. So operator is an FM synth that comes with Ableton frequency modulation. I'm not sure it's available in every version of Ableton. I think you have to have at least the standard edition, but let's see. Oh, nice limiter for created effect. Okay, yeah. So just throw a limiter on it. That's a good way of keeping yourself safe. So let's see. If we want so you went F sharp, D sharp, A sharp, sharp. Oh, that's an interesting bass line. Okay, let's just recreate it real quick. So these are all, let's just do quarter notes. I think that should be fine. Here's a little, and this is a preview of the sort of MIDI kind of editing we'll do today. So we've got F sharp and then D sharp, which is right there. And then you went up to A sharp, which is up here. Yeah, okay, and then E sharp. E sharp, all right, F, yes, okay. Which is right here, I think.
How did you get to this view?
Oh, yeah, this is what, this will lead into the lesson, but so operator is a VST, it's a MIDI instrument. So I have it running here on a MIDI track. And then, similar to how we had audio clips yesterday with the loops, we can also have MIDI clips. So I selected a measure of time here, and then you can either use Control-Shift-M to insert a blank MIDI clip, or you can select that and right-click and then say Insert Empty MIDI Clip, like that. And that gives us a palette or a blank slate for us to add in some MIDI notes. So let's see. Let me bring this down. So you said you were looping it, and it was and it was kind of clicking. Let's see if I get that. It's actually not clicking too badly for me. I might not have it set up exactly the way you have it though. So, yeah. I'm not sure I have enough context to be able to help you out with this one, Sam. But maybe after today's lesson, some things will click. Haha. But I think I do. So I do have a little bit of. I think one thing I suggested that you try was to increase the amount of release, and I do have my release set to 400 milliseconds here. If I drop that all the way to 1 millisecond, let's see. Probably another thing you could try is bringing the attack up slightly so it doesn't try to instantaneously go to the highest volume, it'll like have a little bit of a volume rise, and that can help eliminate the click. This is a common issue in synths, though. You often can get clicking kind of sounds if your envelopes are moving too fast, and I might be able to demonstrate that later in today's lesson, but yeah. Yeah, we might have to come back to that one. But let's, just in the interest of time, let's get into the main lesson today. Okay, I see you're also typing something here, so. All right. So today we're going to talk about drum programming, and we're going to start with house beat, because that's like the simplest possible drum beat you can have. I tend to think of there's like two categories of drum beats. There's the 4 on the floor kind of house sort of beat. You hear that in house, mid-tempo, psytrance, trance, happy hardcore, and then there's everything else. So stuff that sounds like rock or jazz or hip hop. So trap, drum and bass, breaks, UK garage, genres like that. So, but 4 on the floor beat is kind of like your easiest one to put together, and you can do a lot of interesting optimizations with that. So let's start with a blank MIDI track. So just go over here, right click, insert MIDI track. And we'll call this kick. And let's go to our cymatic samples, and we'll pick a nice kick drum sample from the house pack. Let's see what we got here. All right, that's good. So what you can do here is you can take any audio sample, you can load it onto a MIDI track, and Ableton will put it into an instrument called a sampler. So it's basically a simple sample playback engine. So double click on your kick track, and then, let me turn on the, I realize my camera's probably blocking the view a little bit. There we go. Okay, so here in the drop instrument here section, you can take your kick sample and drag it in there, and it automatically loads it into a sampler instrument. Pause the ads again. All right, and you can also play this. So we're going to use MIDI notes to play back the sample, but you can also play it on your keyboard. So if you look up here, I realize projector needs to actually be brought down slightly. But there's a little keyboard icon up here in the upper right corner. If you turn that on, if you turn that on, and then you click on this recording arm button, like you arm the track for recording. Now, when you play the home row keys on your laptop keyboard, it'll send MIDI information to that channel. So keyboard turned on, arm the track for recording, and now you can play the sample back at different pitches. So higher notes make it sound higher pitched, lower notes make it sound lower pitched. And you can also use the W and E and the T, Y, and U keys. Those correspond to black keys on the keyboard. So let's see.
How do you get that from that? Do you touch the keyboard?
Yeah.
You're not. So do you have the track armed for recording? Do you have this little? Do you have this red icon turned on? You got that turned on? Okay, and then you have this keyboard turned on. And when you play a note, you don't hear anything. Press the letter A.
Oh yeah.
You're hearing?
No,
I'm seeing channels move on my MIDI track, but I'm not hearing it.
Okay.
My red button isn't turn on, but I know this is
Do you have? Okay. Does everyone have? Okay. Let me go around and check everyone's stuff. This is fun though.
I'm actually hearing him, my mic is picking up the audio from the room.
Mic is picking up the audio.
Oh, you're on the track.
Oh, is that what you're doing?
Yeah, that's got it loaded. Okay, so step one is make sure you loaded the sample onto a MIDI track, right? Like right click here, insert MIDI track, and then drag your sample into the drop instrument here part. So
Oh, wait.
MIDI track's important.
I don't have a drop instrument, I have drop audio effects only.
Okay, so this is an audio track, so we need a new MIDI track. You also can't delete the last track in there.
Okay.
No, you need to okay, good.
Yeah.
So then, drag an instrument sample down there, so drag it down there. Okay, great. And now press play. Got it? Okay, great. You're doing this is audio track, so you need to create a MIDI track.
I think it converts.
Oh, yeah, I did insert MIDI track.
Yeah.
When you put something in and you remove it, it turns into an audio.
Yes, dude.
Yeah, it's all good audio track. So double click on the MIDI track itself. And then drag.
Oh, I see.
The layout's a little different. There you go.
Okay.
So now we got the keyboard turned on, and your track is on for recording.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I'm hearing it now. Okay, great. And then you got it somewhere. That's good.
Yeah.
You're hearing it. Okay. Everyone got that?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an audio track, so you need to grab a MIDI track. Or just no. Double click on the MIDI track. So now drop instrument there.
Which
track that?
you just
And the arms are recording now with the keyboard action.
If you want to insert the drum tracks.
No, these are
now.
Oh, yeah, you just listen to it.
You hearing it? Awesome. Okay. I think everyone has.
Are all the keys in the plan note or only certain keys?
So your home row up to L will do it, and then W, E, T, Y, U, and O. So those are if you imagine like piano keyboard. Actually, hold on. I'll show you on the synth that I programmed with Ableton, or sorry, with Claude. Okay, so if this is like what a piano keyboard looks like, then these are the letters on your laptop keyboard that correspond to those notes. For some reason, I don't know if this.
And you should move octave.
Yeah, so Z and X. So Z moves your octave down, and then X moves your octave up. Z, and then X moves it up an octave. So yeah, you can go really low, really high. Let's see. Get back. Okay, that's the one. Okay, so I think we're all cooking now. And then the note that will play back the sample at its original pitch is C3 in Ableton. So that's by default that'll be the A key when you have your octave at the neutral position. How do you import the kick as MIDI instead of audio? Okay, so first make sure you have a MIDI track, and then don't drag the audio here. Okay, you're gonna want to drag the audio into this region down here. So sorry, I'll get rid of my effects. Okay, so when you double click on the MIDI track, you'll get this section in the bottom where it says drop an instrument or sample here, and then if you drop your sample in there, it'll turn it into a simpler. Yeah, and then, sorry, and just to further clarify that thing about C3, so there are, the notes in the Western scale are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then there's sharps and flats, and then C3 is like, I think, middle C, so on a piano keyboard, C3 is the one in the middle. The number after the note refers to like the octave that it's in, because the notes are in sort of this loop. It goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you just keep going up the octaves. So let me see if I can find an image. Yeah, something like this. So the notes go up octaves, or you can see it here. And if we So now if we don't want to have to sit there and play all the notes ourselves, we want Ableton to play them for us. So let's, did that answer your question? Also very, very relevant musical name, given what we're talking about. So let's now get Ableton to, okay, great. So now let's get Ableton to play our 4 on the floor kick drum pattern ourselves. So we're gonna zoom in. We're gonna select 1 measure's worth of time. Oh, sorry, let me delete this one. We're gonna select 1 measure's worth of time. You can tell it's 1 measure because you have these numbers along the top counting up the measures. And if you, we want to make sure our grid now is on quarter notes, so it's easier to see what we're doing here. So if you click on this 1/4 down here on the bottom, or right click on it, sorry, probably 2-finger click on Mac, you can change the grid to like a fixed amount of time. So do like quarter notes, and then no matter how much we zoom in or out, it's always divided into quarter notes. Alternatively, the default has this adaptive grid setting, so as you zoom in, the grid gets more high resolution, and as you zoom out, it gets more coarse. So that's usually the setting I use, but you know, for illustrative purposes, I'm going to set this to 1/4. I guess now is a good time to talk about, you know, maybe you might have noticed that these are all powers of 2, right? We have 1/32, 1/16, 1/8, 1/4. So by default, our Ableton projects are in what is called 4/4 time. There's a little icon up here on the top left area that lets us change the time signature of our project. For this class, everything we do is going to be in 4/4. That's like standard dance music time signature. There's other time signatures. If you ever listen to like progressive metal music, they're known for like having crazy time signatures and, you know, weird polyrhythms and stuff. But 4/4 is our, you know, it's also known as common time because it's the most standard way to divide the rhythm of our track up. And basically it just means that there's 4 beats in each measure, and the quarter note is worth 1 beat. So this is where this 4 on the floor name comes from. It even has a Wikipedia page for it. There you go, 4/4 time, 4 quarter notes in 1 measure. You just repeat over and over again. Also, I realize it's getting dark in here. It is nice that the sun is going down. Okay. Not what I would have chosen, but it's kind of ravey, I guess. All right. So let's create that 4 on the floor pattern now. So we'll select 1 measure of time here. You can right click to say insert empty MIDI clip.
Can we get rid of the drum kick that we had before?
Try to set it up so you only have a single MIDI track with your kick sample on it and nothing else. You know, basically like I have it here. We'll add a few more instruments over time. So select a measure, Control-Shift-M to create a new MIDI clip. And then you'll see this view that shows up down here. This is called the piano roll. And it's so named because back in the days of player pianos, you would literally have this. Okay, sorry, some piece of gear just turned on. You'd have this literal roll of paper that has a whole bunch of holes punched in it, and those holes would tell the mechanical player piano what notes to play. So it looks like this, except I can't spell.
So fascinating.
Yeah. So this piano roll in Ableton is like skeuomorphically mapped onto the like actual piano roll. So nothing new under the sun, just remixes of remixes. And you can see it too has this kind of grid-like function where you have time as the horizontal axis, and then the note you're playing or the frequency as the horizontal vertical axis. If you look here, you can also see a similar affordance to setting the grid resolution for your piano roll as well. So it's 1/16 by default, so that's 16th notes. We're going to set it to quarter notes so that we can clearly show this 4 on the floor idea. And then along the left side, here's that C3 note I mentioned. So if we put a note here, it's going to be playing the sample at the original pitch, which is generally what you want for drums. Like, drums aren't an instrument that, I mean, they do have a pitch, but it's not an instrument where you really play with the pitch too much. So we just want 4 C3s. So by default, your cursor is like this selector thing, but if you press the B key, it switches to a pencil tool, and then you can start drawing in notes. I feel like it should activate something on the UI. Oh yeah, so up here, when you press the B, right to the, just to the left of the keyboard icon that we pressed, this pencil tool gets activated when you press B. So I'll activate the pencil tool. We'll draw in 4 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you set that up right, and you loop this section, you press spacebar to play. Sorry, that's kind of slow. We're gonna do like a house track. So 128 is a good tempo. Good. So go up in your tempo selector and change it to 128. And we're off to the races. Like, we could probably just ship this. This is good. All right, so is everyone able to get this 4 on the floor pattern in place and loop it so you can hear, like, yeah, I see some heads bopping. That's great. Again, we're carrying on the grand tradition of mechanized music that humans have been pursuing for centuries now. Now we have computers to help us do it. Let's see, just checking the streams. Okay. Is anyone not able to get to this part? What's up? Come check you out. Okay, so double click on your MIDI track. Okay, so wait, sorry. Okay, so you have a MIDI track here, so that's great. So now click, and starting from 7 and then select all the way over to 8, okay? And now if you 2-finger click, you say insert empty MIDI clip. Cool, so now you have your piano roll. So now you can maybe want to change your grid size to 1/4, and then you can, yep. And then if you press the B key to switch to the drawing tool, or which toggles it here, so you know, you can toggle on off. Now you should be able to draw in 4 quarter notes on that C3 note. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 3 more, good. You can scroll down too, by the way. There you go, okay. Okay. So, all right, so we're off to a good start. One advantage, so you could do this in audio too, right? Like I could drag the sample in here, and then I could, create a 4 on the floor beat here. The problem is it's harder to, if I want to change the sample here, it's already kind of baked in. It's a specific audio sample, so I can't change it as easily. The nice thing with MIDI is if I want a different kick drum sound, I can, let's say I like this one better. I can click and drag it onto my simpler, and then it will change it to that different sample. So now I get this. Yeah, okay, so double click on the kick track. So you're kind of alternating, when you're dealing with MIDI, you're kind of alternating between these 2 views, right? Like the the piano roll editor, which you can access by clicking on the MIDI clip itself, or you're editing the configuration of your track itself, which you get by.
So are we not just playing a normal C3? Oh, is it affect the kick drum we chose is affecting the C3?
The sample is not affecting the C3. So the C3, that's like an abstraction of notes, right? It's like play a C3. I don't have any opinion on what instrument is playing that C3. I just know this information just represents 4 C3 notes, 4 C3 quarter notes. And then the simpler, or whatever VST we eventually use, it interprets that information according to its parameters, which in this case includes this particular sample that we have loaded. So there's also other knobs here like the volume, the transposition. Those all affect like how it sounds when those 4 C3 notes are played. But I'll show in a second how we can take those exact same notes and plug them into a different sound on a different track. What's up?
Just wondering, since all these kicks looks like they come with a pitch, right? It was be like track B, track, etc. So if I have a pitch of a drum on C that's inputted into a simpler on a different pitch, does that change the pitch at all? Or not? How are they interacting? I think that's also where I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah. So good eye. These samples do have a pitch in their title, and if we look at like this one's an F. If we look at let's see, somewhere around here, it should. Actually, this one's not as easy to see, but the C3 note. So by default, simpler, whatever sample you load into it, C3 will play it at the original pitch. In this case, the actual pitch of the sample is an F, but that C3 note is going to play the original sample. This becomes more of a consideration when you're importing, let's say, a bass sample, which has a pitch. And the way you would get around that is you can go into the control setting and you can change the transposition so that when you play a C, it'll actually be a C note. And in that case, let's see if I have a good example.
So by that example, you make it sound like if I have already set a C pitch and my simpler track that I dropped in is at an F pitch, it actually does play an F.
It plays an F, yeah.
Okay, that's.
And yeah, generally for.
Just back, sorry, if it was like a real bass line, like with an actual harmony, then I would have to adjust.
Yeah, because in that case, it's really important that the MIDI notes correspond to the actual pitches of the sample. And there's actually there is another instrument called a drum rack that gets rid of this whole pitch idea entirely, because you just it's like an Akai MPC, so you just like load samples onto individual drum pads, and then when you go to the piano roll, it's just the note for that drum pad. And I'll show you, I'm just kind of racing through here, but I'll show how the drum rack works another time in more detail. But yeah, just know that like for drums, you generally want to play C3. Don't need to transpose unless you're going for some kind of creative effect.
For my loop, the first measure sounds different than the last 3.
The first beat?
The first beat, yeah.
Are you lined up? Is your clip lined up with the start of the measure? Wait, let me see. Okay, double click on. I see what you mean.
Did you change the default? Oh, is that a rap of 50? And the other one's higher than You also start recording, I don't know that.
No. Oh, because you got this.
Oh!
Yeah. Oh, that's
I
good.
feel like a fool.
All good. Yeah. Just. So this is another. This is an opportunity to talk about like keeping your projects as simple as possible. It's very easy to just keep adding more tracks, more samples, and more layers, and then it becomes very difficult. It's like a software project that's got tons of dependencies and spaghetti code and modules and so on. So that's another reason to try to keep things simple, so it's like less chaos to manage in your head.
Yeah, I feel like when I was working on my track, I ran into that problem. I had like added too many ingredients to the soup, and then I was like, okay, like how would I remove something without like completely fucking up the track? But yeah,
Yeah.
resonated with me.
Keeping it simple is good for both mixing purposes and just so you can avoid information overload. Okay. Yeah, what's up?
I was wondering, like, when doing the copying and pasting, is there like a more efficient way of like looping something in the timeline than just like copying the 4 measures and then pasting them over and over like 8 times?
Yeah. So let me get this loop out of the way. So this right now, this clip has this loop button turned on. So if I bring my cursor up here and I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I put it in the upper right corner and I extend it, this is creating linked copies of the clip. So I can like, oops. Okay, so if I change the starting clip, or if I edit the starting clip, it'll update all the duplicates. So because they're all linked together. I turned the grid off. That's why it's messed up. I think. Okay. Yeah. So that's one way of like, if you want to, let's say, make a really cool 4-bar loop, you can just, instead of having to make a bunch of copies of it, you can just extend it as a set of linked copies, and then you don't have to go in and like edit every one if you want to make a single change.
Can you do that again, please?
Yeah.
The top corner, just like.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have my. Oops.
Keyboard roll for you.
Sorry, 1 second. What is going on here? I got it into some weird.
You can just click on the timeline, click on the bars.
You click on the top with the blue.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Okay, so this is So yeah, if you put your cursor up here, it should turn into a right bracket, and then you can just drag it out.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And if you turn off this loop button, by the way, then when you extend it, it'll just add more time, more blank time. So got to make sure that this loop button is turned on.
How can you loop something, extend it, and then extend it more without loop, so that you can like take a 1 measure loop, extend it to 4, but then like change the last bar?
Yeah, if you wanted to do it, like let's say you had this, and it looks like, I don't know, this or something. If I select this and I press Control J to consolidate it, it'll turn it into a unlinked clip, and then I can go in and like edit this one specifically. Cool. So I want to get back to let's get back to just our good old 4 on the floor thing. And we'll loop that. Cool. And we check the live stream. Okay, no questions. All right. So next, let's add another element. Let's add a clap. So we'll insert a new MIDI track. Control Shift T. Let's pick a clap sample. Actually, I remember from last time I don't particularly like any of the claps that come with cymatics. This is good enough. Okay, so same motion. Double click on your MIDI track, drag the clap into the drop instrument here lane. Now I got a clap. And now to show you what I mean by like the MIDI clip is an abstraction, I can take this, hold down the control key and drag it down here. And so now I have the same 4 notes playing on my clap channel.
How do you do the drag?
Right, so I click up here in the top to select my clip. I hold down Control, or I think it's probably Command on Apple, and then I click and drag it down. Alternatively, you can select the clip, Control C to copy, put your cursor here, Control V to paste. Yep. And then for this beat, we don't want the clap and the kick playing on every beat. We want the clap on just the 2 and the 4. This is a standard setup. So we'll open up our clap MIDI clip. We'll delete the 1st and the 3rd notes. And then if we loop that, whoa, it's starting to sound like a real drum beat. That's what I want to say. Don't need slide, whatever that is. Cool. And you know, I think I talked last time about like you want to be strategic about how you layer sounds on top of each other. So you can actually play the kick and the clap together because the kick is a very low frequency focused note. The clap is a more mid and high range note. So they actually glue together nicely. Like you can see the kick here, it's mostly hitting down here. The clap is mostly up here. So then together you get a nice, it sounds glued together, coherent, not like they're fighting for space. Is everyone able to set up this new element in our mix? Working on it. Okay.
Just a quick question.
Yeah, what's up?
We have grouped MIDI tracks and we apply the EQ to it and just turn it on and we'll visualize all the sub tracks.
So I put this EQ on my main track. So main is like the final summation point. Yeah. Yep. And let me and while other people are setting up that, you can also have multiple simplers on one track. So if you want to create like a layer, like let's say you want to have a real tight clap that's in mono, it's right down the center, and then you have like a looser, splashier sort of clap that has more stereo field. You want to play those together so you get a nice, wide, like full spectrum kind of clap sound. You can click on your simpler, you're going to select it, and then you can right click and say group, or alternately you can press Control G. And then that puts your simpler into what's called an instrument rack. So it's basically just like a grouping of a bunch of instruments. You should see this like, if you did it right, you should see this like vertical bar show up. You can click this little hamburger icon here to expand it. It's right there. And then we see again, we have this drop an instrument or sample field here. So we can grab some other clap from maybe, or let's pick a, so I'm going to go with this one because it's like, you can kind of see how it's like, there's a little bit of a delay before the clap comes in. So this will actually mesh nicely with my clap here because this clap kind of starts right away, has information right away. This one takes a little bit of time to ramp up. So 2 ways you can layer things together are by making sure they're separated in the frequency domain, like the way our kick and our clap are in the lows and highs respectively, or you can separate them in the time domain. So you have one part of your layer like start a little bit after, so it's not like two transients stacked on top of each other, which can create which is a lot of energy and which can cause clipping and stuff. So this is I think it's probably easier to see now, but you have this the second one is kind of delayed a little bit, so this should kind of give a longer kind of a longer sort of sound, but it sounds like this. If I mute that, right, so this gives it a little bit more of a rich texture.
At what point of the delay at the beginning of the second one that you added, at what point do our human ears start sensing it as off rhythm or whatever?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it could start to sound like a sort of flam sound. Like that's a technique drummers use where they hit the drum with two sticks. I couldn't give you an exact millisecond value. This would be something you'd try to listen for. But if it feels like it's coming in too late, you can adjust the start time for the sample by dragging this little icon over. So if I want it to be more tightly stacked on top, I could now it sounds more glued together and kind of thicker, but there's still this nice rise here, so it doesn't interfere too much here. So something you can adjust to taste, and that's another reason to use this loop function to dial in the exact sound you want.
Can you add time with that? And
drag it backwards?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you can create more time at the beginning. You might have to edit the sample yourself. There could be a way, though. I'm not entirely sure. Was everyone able to get this grouped clap layer idea going? Okay, great. Cool. So let's add our next element to finalize our boots and cats loop. I don't know if y'all have heard this YouTube video.
Boots, cats, boots, cats, boots, cats, boots, cats, boots.
That's what we're going for. So we're going to add an instrument called a hi-hat next. So same motion, insert a MIDI track. We're going to look for an open hat. So for those who don't know, a hi-hat drum, or it's a cymbal, looks like this. You can play it closed or open. So when it's open, it kind of rings out, it has a longer tail. When it's closed, it's kind of more of a short tick, tick kind of sound. They both have their place. In this case, we want that longer open sound. So let's pick a nice, okay, this one's fine.
Where would that be? In the folder of hi-hat?
Yeah, you can type in hat, select your cymatics folder and type in hat. You should see, oh, by the way, these are, the samples we're manipulating today are called one-shots, because it's like a single hit of a drum, not a sequence of them. So yeah, pick a good open hi-hat, drag it into your MIDI track, create another measure of time, and this time we want to use eighth notes. So common pattern in dance music is that you have some kind of element hitting every other eighth note. If you listen to ska music, that's usually the guitar that's going dun, 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 dun. Or reggae is an even better example, because usually the guitar comes in on every other eighth note. So we're going to change our grid size to 1/8, and then again C3. We'll put it on every other eighth note.
Which keyboard is A, C3, or?
On your piano roll, you should be able to see C3. Oh yeah, the letter A. Yeah, by default, A will be your C3 note. Actually, if you hit the Z and X keys, you should be able to see on the bottom the range that your keyboard is set to. Yeah. So every other eighth note, open hi-hat. If you do that right, it sounds like this. volume a little bit. And this kind of like tick-tock idea is also very common in dance music. You have like two alternating elements that between them create this kind of like simple rhythm, but effective, and you can stack various of them on different time scales to create complex patterns. So like you can see, for instance, the kick and the clap are doing this tick-tock thing on the quarter notes, but then the kick and the hi-hat are doing it on like the eighth note so much faster, but still like the same pattern, just on a different power of two. Powers of two are very common in EDM and computer science. Maybe there's some deep connection there. I don't know. Was everyone able to add the open hat element?
So are these like, I mean, I know nothing is central, but these are like established standards of like drum loop making?
Yeah, this is like a very fundamental pattern. You'll hear it in like every house track, every trance track. It's like, I guess you call it a genre convention of EDM itself. I mean, not every track uses this pattern necessarily, but you go to any club, you'll hear this every other eighth note hi-hat idea. You'll hear this kick and clap on the claps on the 2 and the 4, kick 4 on the floor. It's kind of just like foundational, fundamental, effective.
So like other rhythms are kind of like adding on top of this to create different feels often.
Yeah, so this is like your skeleton, your base layer, and then a lot of the creativity comes in adding in extra elements on like other rhythmic points in your loops. So you might get creative with the closed hat hits. Maybe you'll add in like those claves to like add in some extra flavor. That's kind of where the differentiation starts. But you have that like rock solid foundation, and then your own flavor comes in how you like the additional flavor elements that you add to it. And yeah, this is just, it's very effective, and the creativity comes in how you play with this form and what you add to it or like what you take away from it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are there like other standard beats like this, or this is just the basic?
This is like probably the simplest one, but there's like entire books of drum patterns. You can like
Yeah. Go off. I see.
So and this could be a useful exercise too, right? Like do some Google searches for some of these patterns, program them yourself, see how they sound, see how they differ compared to this standard pattern.
I watched like half of the drums tutorial you sent. Would you think that's like a complimentary, like a supplement to this lesson?
Yeah, I've actually got a couple of tutorials that will fill in more details as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got 40 more minutes. What's up?
The one you sent last week was great. I
Oh,
loved it.
good. Awesome. Thank you. Cool. Okay, so we have. By the way, when you're in this piano roll too, you can also use the Control D duplication shortcut. So that's another way to speed this up. So I could do like duplicate. Select this and duplicate it. Just something to notice. All right, so let's show how we would start like extending this into more of a progression. So let's take, so you can hold down Shift and click these 3 clips to select multiple of them at once. Let's duplicate them 7 times so we get 8 measures. So I said earlier that EDM is often built up in groups of 8. And so let's say this is right at the beginning of a drop. So this is, you can also kind of look for the different kinds of gray that Ableton, I think Ableton tends to do it in groups of 4, like whatever grid resolution you're at. every 4 will be the darker gray, the next 4 will be lighter gray, and so on. So yeah, just to show that again. Select one measure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay.
What's the shortcut you use?
That's Command D on Mac or Control D.
And E?
D for duplicate.
Oh,
Except they don't all have nice mnemonics like that. Control D happens to be one. But yeah, so a good rule of thumb is like every 4 measures you change it up, add some kind of element, maybe just a simple turnaround. And then every 8 measures, you do a larger version of that. And then every 16 measures, it's an even larger version of that. So you have like this same kind of like pattern, but recreating itself at different scales and at different magnitudes, depending on like how big the scale is. So let's say measure 9 here was the beginning of our drop. Maybe we just want to start with a kick and the clap. We don't want to introduce the hi-hat right away because we want to leave us some headroom to grow. So delete the first 4 measures of open hats. No, sorry, we've got to turn off the loop. Okay. Okay, a lot of this will be boring, but I won't play it out totally. But okay, you can start to see how like, okay, initially we got just a kick and clap, and then okay, now the hi-hat comes in. Oh, now we're adding some more energy. We're getting somewhere. This could also be a nice time to add like a little amuse-bouche or amuse. No, oya is eye. What is the word for ear? I forget. Anyway, we can add 4 measures into this. Maybe we'll add like a really simple drum fill. I mean, it's hardly even a drum fill. We'll just double up on the kick. So select your 4th measure here, and then change your grid size to 1/8. And then we'll replace this last kick drum with 2 1/8 notes. So it'll be like doom, 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 right? And that is like a little bit of a turnaround that sets the listener up to anticipate a rise in energy. So we went from this grid to 1/8. Now we have 2 kick drums. So that sounds like this. Right? Real simple, but still effective enough to cue the listener that, oh, something cool is about to happen. And I wouldn't use this idea like as your only turnaround in the track, but you can. I think it's best to just start with like very simple things, then only add on complexity if you need to or if you feel artistically moved to, I suppose. But simple things can be very effective, and your song is not going to live and die on if you like had a super complicated kick fill right here. So we got that, and then proceed with some hi-hats, and there would also be some, because it's the drop, you'd also have like some bass playing here, maybe some lead elements, etc. We'll get deeper into that later, but we're setting up the skeleton here. So now we're 8 measures in. We're going to want to set ourselves up for like the next 8. We'll have a more powerful turnaround. So another simple thing you can do is you can literally just get rid of the kick, which we heard in your track, Rob. So we'll take our 8th 4 on the floor pattern here, and you can either delete it, or if you have it selected and you press the number 0, it'll disable it. So maybe you want to like bring it back in later. And so if you do that, you get this kind of sound. And like you can feel right away, like, oh, where's my kick? I was using that. I was leaning against that. Bring it back, please. But yeah, that you create that tension, that sense of anticipation. So now, and you can see how this is like, it takes more time. Like this motion takes more time. It's like a whole measure worth of changing it up versus here, it's literally just one beat. But now, our scale is lengthening, so we have more scope to do a bigger move, and because we've earned it, we're deeper into the track. Was everyone able to either delete or disable the last
What was the shortcut for disabling?
0, like the number 0? Cool. So now let's do the next 16 measures. So I want to introduce, now we're going to introduce a variation on the hat. We're going to use the closed hat for this next part. So I'm going to copy and paste. Oops, sorry. So this, 2, 3, 4. Take my open hat, paste it 4 times. So now I got this.
4 more measures?
Yeah, so 4 more measures. I made sure not to copy the measure that has the 2 eighth notes because I want to do something a little different, right? Not reuse the same idea. But so let's add now a new MIDI track, and we'll call this one closed hat. And find a nice closed hat in our cymatic samples.
Do you always go to cymatics? Do you think the built-in Ableton ones are just garbage? Or?
No, there's a lot of great built-in Ableton sounds. I'm just using cymatics, so we're all kind of drawing on the same sonic palette. But one thing that will help you establish your sound as a producer is the samples you choose to use. So you'll eventually find ones that you really like. But cymatics does make some good ones. So closed hat, that one's a little too thick. That one's too splashy. This one's good.
So is that a new MIDI track or just an audio? Like for the open hat, for the closed hat?
These are all MIDI tracks. Yeah. So drag that down there. Cool. And I'm gonna let's see, how do I want to do this? Yeah, I guess I'll just do another measure here. And I want to leave myself, even here, I want to leave myself some room to grow. And by the way, I'm making a lot of artistic choices. Don't take them as like the only way to do things. These are just examples to show how one could do it. There's a million different ways to play with the energy of a track, but these are illustrative of some general patterns. So, so now we want to go up to 16th notes here for these closed hi-hats, because these are really short sounds, so they can be played rapidly. The open hi-hat is very long. You wouldn't want to play it real fast because it starts to step on itself. But with these short, tickier sounds, you get away with having them be more frequent. So I'm going to do 2 16th notes, and then leave the next 2 blank. And then I'll just select that one beat and duplicate it. Yeah, still on. We're going to stay on C3. Though, if you make trap music, you'll often hear them playing around with the pitch of the hats. It'll go and in those, I think there's an example in one of the tutorials I send. But that's a case where you might want to use different pitches. But here I'm just having two 16th notes followed by 2 blanks, and then just repeating that a whole bunch of times. I'll duplicate that pattern 4 times as well. Sorry, let me shrink this so it's easier to see. Okay, so now we'll hear what that, the turnaround into that part, into this next group of 8 measures sounds like. Cool. Exactly, yeah. Actually, I did want to show one thing. So, one parameter that you have control over with MIDI is called the velocity. This is how hard you're playing a note, higher velocity means it's louder. I think by default, Ableton sets the notes to be at velocity 100. But with the hi-hats, with these closed hi-hats, we can start to play with the dynamics a little bit. And usually the first beat in a measure has the most emphasis, and then the other beats in. So how to describe this? The closer a beat is to being, or the closer a rhythmic subdivision is to being on one of these like main lines, like where the 4 beats are, the more emphasis it kind of has. That's why the kick drum is 4 on the floor, so we're putting a lot of energy on those hits. But in between those moments of like high energy, we want to pull back a little bit so we can create some dynamics. So it'll sound very robotic if like all these hi-hats are playing at the exact same velocity, right? Sounds like this. Very unnatural to do this. So a real drummer would probably like make the first hit a little bit louder and then like back off a little bit. And then the next hit that lines up with the main 4 beats is a little bit louder, and then they'll pull back a little bit. So that creates more of a natural organic sound. So here, I want to make my first hi-hat hit all the way loud, like push it up to 127, and then the second one will be only at 100, let's say. So we'll get a, and that sounds more natural, organic, human, etc. We like that. I guess in some cases you do want a really robotic, techno-y kind of feel, but generally we're pushing. EDM tries to push into this realm of being organic and natural and alive sounding, despite being bound to a computer. What's your question?
I was playing around with some grooves, and I noticed that some of the grooves automatically seem to adjust volume. Is this the same idea?
Yeah, and actually in Ableton 12 they introduced this like humanize option, so you can even have it like adjust. That was pretty subtle, but it will like adjust exactly how quantized it is to the grid.
Turn up that 10% on the left, so it really.
Yeah, so it can sound real sloppy. But even here, I'm like, I'm leaving that first hit at the beginning of the measure right on the beat, so that's my anchor. I want that to be rock solid, but then I can have a lot more play and looseness with the remainder ones, knowing that when the next measure hits, it'll be lined up rock solid, and that helps you both keep a solid sense of time, but also get that more organic waviness, whatever you want to call it.
Do you follow any rules when in your work you do or don't use humanize on like which tracks or?
Well, I wouldn't use it on the kick. I want that to be, that's like the foundation. That needs to be solid. Probably wouldn't use it on the clap either, because I want that to also line up on the 2 and the 4 nicely. I think hi-hats are a good place, or these closed hats are a good place for it, because there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of hits here that aren't like super critical, but they do add texture and flavor to the sound, so that can be a good time to play with the timing a bit. Another idea is maybe with the claps, if I want to create like a more lazy kind of groove, maybe I'd make the second clap like ever so slightly slower, or later, so that it comes. It's real subtle, right? There's always a sweet spot for these parameters where you kind of push it to where it's like truly audible, and then you like dial it back a little bit.
How are you able to do that? Just with
Let's see. If you hold down Alt, you can slide it off the grid. I think also if you like drag it real slow, you can do it. But if you just hold Alt, it'll let you micro adjust it. I'm not sure I would necessarily do this, but depending on the track. Okay, so anyway, so I make, going back to the simple, just two closed hi-hats. First one will be max velocity, and the second one will be a little quieter, maybe 100. then I'll duplicate that, and then I'll duplicate this a few times.
So you're doing each, not only the first beat.
Yeah, because I want this hi-hat pattern to continue for the next 4 measures. So now we get this kind of sound. Oops. Do we get any kind of sound? Oh, right. I gotta unsolo that. Yeah. Maybe here I could even, I can add a tiny microfill with the hi-hats. Maybe if I take this second group and I take this, and maybe add like one note here at the end, so it goes like. Subtle, but enough to create a little bit of a ear candy for the listener. And then, let's add a different kind of kick drum turnaround here to this 4th one. So instead of, let's say, doom, 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 maybe we do like doom, 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 doom. So like we'll change our grid to 1/16. And then we'll replace this single hit with 2/16. Sorry, 3/16, but we'll leave that 3rd slot empty. So we'll get a do-doom do kind of sound. Okay, and then we've got 4 more measures to go to round out our 8. So let's duplicate all this. Let's introduce another element called a tom. This is kind of like a higher pitched kick drum. It uses the same kind of general so kick drum looks like this, and then a tom drum looks like a kick but rotated 90 degrees, but it's still the same like basic shape. It's just smaller, so it's higher pitched. I think there should be some toms in the cymatics folder. Some dubstep toms. Sure, let's use this one. So I'll drag that onto a new MIDI track. Oops, didn't mean to move it. Okay, and we're gonna set up a rhythmic pattern called a clave or clave. I think it's the same name as that like 2-stick instrument you had on yours, but you've heard this rhythm. This rhythm is really popular in like Moombaton songs. It's like doom da doom dun doom da doom dun. So.
Could you remind me, what's the shortcut to get the piano keyboard?
I mean so you can play the notes on your laptop keyboard.
Yeah, to get this bottom key thing.
If you click on the.
No, like when you select the empty ones.
Oh, like I do this, like that.
Yeah.
Control Shift M. Okay. So let's see. So for this, we want 8th notes. So let's see. No, wait. Okay, I think we want 16th notes. Sorry. So, okay, so set your grid to 16ths. And we're going to go, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So single note on the 4th 16th. And then 1, 2, 3, single note on the 3rd 16th. So this should give us that dun, 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 dun. And we'll duplicate that. Let's see if we got it right. Yeah, okay, great.
It's like even just adding those 2 or 4 notes, like it amazes me how the sound changes when it gets layered. Like,
Yeah.
Even the simple things are blowing my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't take a lot to make to enhance your groove, and a couple things to point out here. So the tom is not lined up with the kick, right? Those aren't fighting for space. It's also not lined up with the clap, so it's not fighting for space there. The only time it's really combined with anything is with this open hi-hat, but the open hat is more of a high-frequency instrument. Tom tends to be more mid-range, low mids, so those can stack nicely together. And maybe one other thing to enhance the energy, I'm going to make all these, for the last group of four, I'm going to make all the closed hats. I'm going to fill in this last 16th note here. So I'll just copy this note, put it here. I'm leaving the third one empty because that's where the open hat is playing, and I don't want the open hat and the closed hat are in the same part of the frequency spectrum. Don't want them fighting for control. And also, if you had an actual physical hi-hat, you can't play it closed and open at the same time. So, that's why I'm leaving that gap here.
What you do?
Oh, yeah. So I'm starting from this pattern, right?
On the closed hat.
So on the closed hat, I'm just putting a 16th note at the fourth position in each group of four.
And you're only doing it in that first measure of those last four.
Well, actually, I want to do it in all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because now I'm in the fourth group of four measures. I want it to have the most energy because I'm getting near the end of the drop.
So we should loop that one for those next 3 bars.
Yeah. So you can see it's like I'm duplicating it. It's getting denser. You can density is another way of expressing like I'm adding more energy and having a more tightly interweaved collection of instruments playing. So that gives us this. So okay. And to be honest, I would probably put the toms more at measure 8 because they're kind of a bigger instrument. I'd probably move them back, but whatever. It's fine for now. And then for our last turnaround here, in the first half of our drop, I took out the last measure. But now since we're even deeper in the track, I'm going to double it up. I'm just going to take out the last 2 measures of the kick. And usually there'd be some kind of riser element or maybe some other kind of drum fill here. I can extend the scope of my turnaround motion because I'm deeper into the drop, into the track. I've earned it. I've earned the opportunity to do something of greater scope. So. Right. So in contrast to the earlier one, where we just pulled it out for a little bit, now we're really pulling it out, and this is a good time. We're also dialing back the energy in anticipation of maybe going back into a verse that's lower energy. So we're kind of setting ourselves up to be able to pull back further, because we don't necessarily need to be max energy all the time. Some genres you do, but yeah. So if we kind of zoom out a little bit, maybe you can get a sense for how we're gradually increasing the energy and the density of our elements as this drop progresses. But there's these key moments anchored at 4, 8, 12, 16, where we add a little turnaround drum fill, switching up the energy somehow just to keep the listener engaged and set the listener up for the next intensification of our track. I kind of like to think of this as these are places where you're reloading, because in nature you can't just continuously dump out energy without a break, without rest. So you take a moment to coil your spring back up, reload, whatever you want to call it, and then you can fire off the next bass laser. Not to use too much dubstep terminology, but
is there a set amount of time where you want to like keep a part going? Like that's something I kind of had trouble with instructing my son. It's like, okay, how long do I want to keep this part going until I move on to the next little element? You know, like should it be 4 bars, 8 bars?
So one good exercise is to take a track that you really like and load it into Ableton and see and like annotate where it's bringing in or taking out elements. By the way, you can, if you right click up here, underneath the numbers, but above where the piano roll starts, you can add annotations here. So there's going to be one exercise in one of the homeworks where you do that. You take a track you like and you put in like, you annotate where the drop is, you annotate where they bring in the lead or an ARP or something. But you right, two-finger click, right click up here and say add locator. And this also lets you like quickly jump to different sections. So if you're like, you have a massive track, it's way zoomed out, you can be like, oh, I want to jump to the second part of the drop. But to further answer your question, this it's something you develop a sensitivity towards as you listen to more tracks closely and make your own tracks. But in general, like 8 measures is a safe amount of time to let something run, or to like after 8 measures now consider switching it up in some way. One, I guess, sort of failure mode is sometimes like you'll make your 8-bar loop and you're like, okay, I gotta intensify it. So then, all right, I'm gonna add some more elements to the next 8. Okay, now I need to intensify it again, even more elements, and it just kind of sounds like you're like stepping up a ladder. That's another reason why we want these little turnarounds, so we create more of a like interesting shape to the energy. And even at the beginning parts here, maybe I would throw in a fake out or like a crash cymbal or like a trombone hit or something else to break up this like terraced dynamic kind of structure, if that makes sense. But if you want to just start somewhere simple, just 8 bars at a time. Okay, I think there's enough time for us to do something quickly with bass here. So let's install Vital. So vital.audio. Yes, so vital.audio. I'll drop the link in the channel here. Oops, I think some of the live streamers saw an ad. Sorry about that. Let's see. Click on Get Vital. You can just get the basic one. So click on Basic. You can. You have to create an account, but they haven't stolen my data yet, as far as I know. Let's see. I think I already have an account. This is just how they monetize. So they sell the software as like the commodity product, and then the presets, which are where your time investment comes in, that's what they charge money for. So pick whatever version, depending on your operating system, and download that.
Do you want the early access or the regular?
The regular one's probably more stable. Actually, I wonder what version I have. I think this will be the last thing we do for today. Oh, yeah, I have the stable non-early access version. I've seen this advanced tab. That's cool.
I installed it, but I don't see it when I search for it in Ableton. I'll just restart it.
Right. Okay. So so after you've installed it, you're going to go into your options and your settings, and then there should be a section for plugins. So you're going to click that, and Ableton looks in various folders for VSTs. So I just turn on every single place for it to possibly look for things. And then if you click this rescan button, it should show up. You just make sure whatever folder you installed Vital into, it is in your list here.
Options and what?
So options, settings.
On a Mac, it would be live
Live settings.
Oh, got it.
Actually.
Oh, I don't even have a menu option that says live. Okay, that explains.
Live is the application. Ableton Live Center.
Oh, that's crazy. You can also hit Command comma, I believe. Control comma. I actually did just buy a Mac, so maybe next time I'll have that set up. And
Did you buy that new Neon?
no, I got the M5 Max.
Nice.
Yeah, I want to be able to run local LLMs.
So we just copy what you want.
Yeah, turn on all the use this custom folder, use that custom folder. Turn all those on. Whatever folder you installed Vital to, make sure you may have to turn on like a custom folder, and then click the rescan button. And then if it's not showing up, then restart Ableton. But it should show up in this plugins option in the command palette.
The plugins will pop up.
Yeah, it should be in the left, plugins, Vital Audio. If you're on Mac, you'll probably have like a VST, VST3, AAX, an audio unit format. AUs are probably more performant on Mac, but then people on Windows can't open your project. Maybe you don't care. So VST3 is a safe choice to choose. And I'm happy to come around now to just check out the setups if people were able to. Is anyone having trouble getting it to show up in Ableton?
Oh.
You got it there. Awesome.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No, so he said.
Oh, yeah. So the rescan. Or, yeah, turn all these on.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Options.
Oh, there.
Okay, turn on all those custom folders.
This.
Open the file.
No, then if you click it.
Okay, let's turn on the. Well, first do the system folder one. Yeah, click that.
This one.
Yeah. Hey, there it is.
Oh, cool.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, so I guess you don't need to turn on custom folders necessarily. Are you able to?
No.
Okay, can you open the settings? Okay, turn on. Use VST2 plugin to the system folders. And then VST3 in the system folders. And then click the rescan button.
No.
I'm sure
You did the install.
Oh.
Okay. Close this. Yeah, we don't want to run the same one. Okay, rescan. Okay. Let's see. Click the use audio units once and move on to appreciate. Okay, so now your file audio is showing up. Okay. And then there, you got it. Let's see. How are you doing? Oh, great. Okay. And then you have it enabled? No. Okay. Can you go to options? Oh, wait. Sorry, it's not live. Sorry, live. Settings there. Plugins. Okay, turn out. Click audio units V2, turn that one on. V3 also turn that on. Turn on the VST system folders. Sorry, one below that. Yeah. Okay, I am seeing it show up here, so that's good. Okay, we got file audio, so here should have it. Great. And then how about you? You're good. No, but that was fine. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. You have it in Ableton, like showing up on the slide. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So now you can click and drag Vital if you drag it into this area in your arrangement view, it'll actually create a new track with Vital on it already. So that's great. And you can play it. I look like Brute Assault. So you get Vital on a new. It's a MIDI track. So let's program like the simplest bass line possible, or just a real simple one. So we're gonna go to the beginning, select a measure of time, insert a new MIDI clip, and then I'm just gonna make it do like da 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 da. Real nothing. Not gonna win a Grammy here, but I think. By the way, if